into the online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Oh, yeah! Welcome back! Huh?
Did that fire you up?
Yeah, it fires me up every time. Kidding me? I mean, first that AfterBuzz music, and then it kind of goes right into this. I usually come with the super low energy just to kind of balance it out, you know? Just to really come in all firing like this. But
so let's start off with this. That's Mike Conley. I'm Bobby DeMuro. If you don't know us by now, you're watching the wrong show on the wrong week because it's the last week of this season.
This is it. This is another edition of Red Sox Wrap 360, your weekly rudderless discussion of all things Red Sox.
Let's go rudderless first.
Yes.
You're a Boston native. I'm no longer allowed in this city.
Wow.
That's a long story for another time.
I guess so.
What's your best Boston movie? Boondock Saints, Good Will Hunting, I don't know what else there is. What's your best Boston movie?
Friends of Eddie Coyle?
Rounders? Was Rounders set in Boston or New York?
That was New York.
Okay.
That was New York.
That's a great movie, though.
Well, one of Boston's favorite sons, Matt Damon, obviously, I mean, I guess I'm a little partial to Good Will Hunting just because at that time and the age I was, and, it really kind of opened up a lot of worlds for me with, smart women going slumming for dudes from Boston,
I think we talked about that before now that I think about it.
Oh, yeah, it's very nice.
More
very
power
nice.
to you, man.
Hey, man, you should check it out. It's a pretty good flick.
I've seen it once or twice.
Have you?
Yeah.
All right, that's good stuff. But 'tis the end of baseball season. A sad, sad day. All the games are in the books. They all started at noon today, or 12:10.
That's a good thing.
It was a good thing.
I like that. Except for the Cardinals had to play a doubleheader. Cardinals and Braves started earlier and then played the 12:10 game. I like that a lot because last year, I know it's a small thing, but was it last year or 2 years ago that the Cardinals, and I think it was the Cardinals and the Pirates, were playing and the Pirates won or the Pirates lost? I don't remember what happened. But the Cardinals were starting a game, 2 hours later, and the Pirates lose. And the Cardinals, 10 minutes before their game, run down and say, "Hey, Adam Wainwright, you're not starting anymore. We're starting this minor leaguer."
Right.
Not the biggest deal in the grand scheme of things, but you want to give the fans a good product. You want to leave some mystery there for some teams.
Absolutely.
It's like day one of NCAA basketball tournament when everybody's playing at once and you're flipping between games and you're like, "What the hell's going on?" The Rangers and Angels and Astros and all that today.
I want to say that was 2 years ago.
Was it?
But did they do this last year? All the games started at the same time or no?
I
don't
remember.
This is the first year?
It hadn't been long. If this isn't the first year, it had to have been last year. But I'm glad that they did it. It heightens the intensity, I guess, because you can scoreboard watch. Like, you can take a chance, but if a team, we saw it in the Giants-Rockies game today, if the Giants were playing to go into the playoffs and you see, they're up 3-0 in the ninth, let's take it easy. Well, they gave up 7 runs in the ninth. Now, their game didn't matter, but what if it did,
Right.
So that's the challenge of watching the scoreboard during your game, which I kind of like.
Yeah. Two teams that weren't playing to get into the playoffs today were the Red Sox and the Cleveland Indians. And the Sox go down 3-1 to Cleveland. And, they lose 4 in a row to finish the season.
That's bad. Week. I'm okay with the week only because they took 3 out of 4 from New York, so that's, gotta feel good. Let me say this, though. The other thing about this week that I liked, Rick Porcello. Threw the ball a lot better. Got his ERA under 5. There we go.
That was huge.
He's down to 4.97 on the season.
You think that's a small thing, but when you're going down end of the year stats and you're just kind of glancing down that ERA column, you look for the guys that have a first number 2, and you're like, wow, that guy had a good season. And then you kind of just scan through the 3s and 4s, and you look at the guys that have a 5, and you're like, boom, that guy had a horrible season.
It's the numbers matter to players more than they'll admit, and they don't matter in in the moment at all. They're worried about winning. They don't care. But it matters to them, and it really matters to pitchers and how they look. It matters to them after the season. I'm going to use a Rockies example. I got to do it. DJ LeMahieu was hitting 302 going into this weekend in San Francisco.
Sat him.
They sat him Friday. On Saturday, he gets a single. He gets a couple more at bats. He's guaranteed to hit over 300. They sat him again today. Now you're saying, well, it doesn't matter. Rockies are going nowhere. To him, in 20 years, hitting 300 in 650 plate appearances is really going to matter. Like, these are the right moves. Getting Porcello is risky to have Porcello throw. Getting him under 5, it's not a milestone. It's not something to be proud of. But 4.97 is so much different than 5.1. I'm sorry, it is. There's a difference for him. There's a difference for the team. Porcello finishes with 2 pretty good starts to end the year, and I'm not high on him for 2016, but I'm a little bit less low. Let's put it that way.
Really, I like DL LeMahieu. I think he's going to be good. DL LeMahieu. I think he's LeMahieu.
Oh, LeMahieu. Yeah. No, he will be good. He'll look good in another.
I'm teasing you.
In another uniform next year.
I know you were talking to Porcello.
But Porcello, I'm telling you, I like him a little bit more next year. I mean, he's 9-15 was not good. A 4.97 is not good, but it's better than it could have been. He finished strong. It's
true, and he did finish strong. And so maybe there is something to that triceps injury. I know we were kind of dismissing it at the time and just being like, myself especially, like, is that a tricep injury or is that just poor pitching?
Phantom DL.
Yeah, exactly, Phantom DL. But maybe there was something to it because he has looked much better and, coming back. And everybody knows the phrase Manny being Manny, but the lesser-known one, Rick Porcello being Rick Porcello, that's keeping the ball down, getting ground balls, and that's kind of what he has been doing since he's been back off that DL stint. So hopefully that's a sign of things to come because I don't really think we can get rid of his contract.
No.
So
especially not with the year he had.
Yeah.
That's selling really low.
That's going to be selling low. Unless you just look at the framework in the past, 6 weeks.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what a team will do. They'll just look at 6 weeks and not years of, good or bad.
I think they will do that. And they'll go and try and buy low. It's like, hey, we'll take Rick Porcello off your hands. You pay 85% of his contract.
Would you do that, though? Because 85% is a lot of money. I know the Red Sox aren't the Royals and they can absorb this better, but
I'm not a big fan of doing that, because then you like we've touched upon this in the past, you get Bobby Bonilla contracts and what have you, but and I talk to people all the time, Barstool GMs and what have you, and they're just like, oh yeah, it's not your money. What do you care? Just have them eat it. But it's just bad business because that's money that can't go into the product elsewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I know John Henry's rich and, there's no end to the money, but, there's an end eventually to the money. But.
And I know there's no salary cap in baseball, but every team has a private unreleased salary cap that they are not willing to go over unless Giancarlo Stanton became available, unless Bryce Harper became available. Short of a guy like that, there are limits for every one of these teams, and John Henry has said privately to his front office, this is the number or this is the range, and you cannot go over this except for these circumstances. Trading away Rick Porcello is probably not one of those circumstances.
Yeah.
Especially 10 months, 9 months after you take on these contracts with Hanley and Pablo.
Yeah.
You can't do it again. If you're going to do anything, you have to shed a ton of money, which we can talk about later.
Yeah, but like we've talked about till we're blue in the face, the blue boy Dodgers don't come along ever so often willing to take $250 million a payroll. So.
Do you think who's the next Dodgers? I mean, the Yankees used to spend. The Yankees still have the ability to.
Right.
The Dodgers spend like crazy. Who's the next team to do that?
Well, I kind of think you're seeing the Cubs turn into maybe that team with the pickup of Lester last year. I think they're going to go hard after Price, so that'll be a bunch of money to them too. They're going to have to open up the purse strings to get Arrieta signed.
Yeah,
so
I think the other one, and they're going to have a couple guys in the next couple of years come up to make a lot of money, like Chris Bryant. They're going to try to probably buy out his arbitration in a couple of years.
Yeah.
The other one is the Nationals. I think with what happened to the Nationals this year, with Bryce Harper nearing free agency and all that, they're going to spend a ton of money and do whatever it takes to keep Bryce Harper. Do whatever it takes to get everybody around him. We were talking about
they're
this.
already spending. I mean,
for sure. But that's what I'm saying. If they're already spending what they're spending, I think they're going to go to the next level and say we cannot have an embarrassing season like we did in 2015. New manager Matt Williams is certainly probably done. New manager, all this stuff, and they are going to go all in for it.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We shall see.
Bryce,
Let's get back to the Red Sox.
I wanted to talk
Red
about
Sox Wrap 360. You want to talk about?
I wanted to talk about Bryce Harper's $500 million contract. The guy's going to get $500 million. Legitimately.
Did you want to talk about Pablo choking him out, or did you? That was a hilarious video, by the way.
That was. Did we talk about this last week?
You asked me if I had seen it, and I hadn't seen it.
Okay. So you've seen it now.
I went and saw it. But and after seeing that video, you know what I instantly thought? Torey Lovello to the Nationals as manager next season. But good news for Red Sox fans is he was retained in an odd 2-year deal for a bench coach to lock him up. So he said all the right things. He's just, I don't know this guy personally, but he seems from his interviews like a really genuinely nice guy.
Yeah.
And he's talking about how his, friendship with John Farrell is, got even better than this time, and he wants to see him through. He doesn't want to leave John Farrell hanging. And I think that's fantastic because Farrell's still under contract for next year as well, and they're bringing back the entire coaching staff, except for Ani Baylor.
Listen, I think
maybe
too,
he'll go over to the Rangers and reunite with Mike Napoli, and they can do their helmet headbutts when Napoli gets singles again.
Yeah, any Napoli
like
reuniting with Boston's a disaster.
Hey, man, he's going to be in the playoffs.
Hey, I was going to say the Rangers are in and Boston isn't, so hey.
He's doing something right.
God bless Torey Lovello if he comes back and whatever, and talk about a sell high guy.
Oh, he's back, baby.
I wouldn't begrudge him if he got a managerial job. Even after signing a 2-year bench coach deal, if they let him interview with managerial positions for any team and he goes, I'd be really happy for him. The goal for these guys is a managerial role.
Right.
It's just like a player. You want to be in the big leagues. You don't want to stick with a team that you're loyal to be in AAA and maybe you come up a little bit. You want the big deal. You want the big leagues.
No question. And, I'm not going to be... That's not a word.
Begrudge?
Begrudge, thank you. Like anybody, their ambition to get to the height of their profession and all that stuff. I mean, clearly we are at the apex of ours right now. But, I was just excited to hear a more human side of things that's on the back burner, and he wanted to see his friend through this time of transition because, Farrell finished up his chemotherapy. Our boy John, way to get after it. And they say the time is going to be 3 to 6 months to get, fully rehab and stuff. So if it's 3, that's great, no problem, all set, all on schedule for next season. But if it's closer to 6, then we're into the new season. So to have that continuity in a skipper, even if it was just on the interim basis, I think is important, because a lot of learning and a lot of team building is done in those spring months, and especially with coming off the momentum of this season, you don't want to lose any of that, So, especially with how well we played in the past, not the past 4 games, but the past, 7 weeks, shall we say.
It's been better than I expected it. Let's just say that.
2 games better, right? Though you said 76 games, and I said 87.
And then they finished with 78 wins.
That's right, 78. So you did pretty good there. You had to be sweating it, though, when they took the first 3 in the Bronx.
Well, for the halfway title, for the break even.
Well, the break even.
But you told me about 7 weeks ago, you felt as though this Bo Sox team was going to win 87 games.
I mean, it was a little bit of an outlandish prediction.
A little bit?
Just to try and, they would have had to, I think, at that time, go 45-25. I think at the time I made the prediction. So, it was a little bit outlandish, but I was just trying to put that heat on the boys. And I really think, because I know all of them listen to this, especially the young guys. They love this, new form of media, the interweb and what have you. And you can tweet him, by the way, during the show if you want to have this rudderless discussion going another way. Where can they reach you?
Do it. Tweet me at Bobby DeMuro.
Bobby DeMuro. I love
sure.
it.
I do get tweets about...
You're going to get a tweet from Mookie. He's going to tweet in.
I do get tweets about this show. I get more tweets about our Dodgers Wrap.
Sorry
to say, man, people love a winner.
Wow.
I think it's also the lead host on the Dodgers Wrap's a good dude.
He's more the Red Sox fans are old school. They remember a time where, a guy was hitting over 400 and his manager told him, hey, why don't we sit you out today, Teddy ball game, and so you can keep that 400 bit. And he didn't pull a DL LeMahieu. He went out there and he went 3 for 5 or 4 for 6.
Did you call him DL LeMahieu?
Is that what his name is?
It's DJ, not DL Hughley.
That's who I got him conflicted with.
You cannot pick two people more opposite than DJ LeMahieu and DL Hughley.
You
you really got to work for that.
You're supposed to be coaching me up on this pop culture, my poor performance is lacking yours,
Say, listen, contextualize and stomach that however you need to do so. Okay. The truth is,
D.L. Hughley's playing second for the Rockies. That's awesome.
The truth is, this show has completely lost its focus.
Yeah, without question. So, just to quick brief overview, blasting through that Bronx series. It was awesome that they took 3 out of 4 from them. Obviously, I was hoping for the sweep to keep the heat on you. We could have. I could have won our bet, but it didn't happen. But
to keep the heat on the Yankees, too. The Yankees didn't clinch home field until, what, today? Or yesterday? They got home field advantage now in the wild card, but it was dicey for the week.
It was dicey. And I was bummed. I was like, I know I was originally saying that, I hope they don't clinch anything when we were there. The Bo Sox will beat them out. But I think, as far as like this last 2 to 3 months of the season, it being a prep season for, next year and going into the future with all these young kids, it was kind of good that the Yanks actually clinched that night, clinched the playoff spot in that last game, because they could see that, have a little taste of this. And I love seeing after the game, Xander Bogaerts, our new leader, absolute stud. He was there, taking it all in, arms on the dugout, just like watching them celebrate and, hopefully putting it in that pit in the stomach that, like, I don't want to ever witness this again. I want it to be us celebrating. And I think that's great. And it's great for the kids to get that sour taste in their mouth going into next year and in their future with the Red Sox. So I was stoked. I hope they all stayed out there. I wouldn't want to have Luvello say, hey, let's all stay out here and eat this. But, it would have been nice if they all hung around. It would have been nice if Xander said that. Hey, let's stay out here, young guys, and eat this. But he is 23 now, by the way.
Ooh.
So he's a wily veteran.
So he's got 4 years until his prime. Think about that. Assuming weird things, injuries or whatever don't happen.
Yeah.
Your prime now, they're finding most of these guys are hitting their prime at about 26, 27, 28.
Right.
So
I'm excited.
It's a fun time.
Because, and you can kind of see the power coming along here, and just in the last month of the season, him popping a few out, and it's like, so next year he's going to be in that 15 to 20 range, and hopefully he can still maintain that over 300 batting average, and the guy's going to be a monster. And what's really been exciting this year is his improvement on defense has been extraordinary as well. And obviously that doesn't get as much hullabaloo as offensive numbers, but man, it's been great. And so the future is bright for this team going forward, no question. So hopefully Dave Dombrowski doesn't blow it up. But anyways, what was great in that series, Rodriguez started us off right, E-Rod with the win in that game 1.
Mm-hmm.
It was great to him in the Bronx. 6 innings pitched, only allowing 1 run, striking out 5 on 7 hits. Obviously, Shaw bombs again. I love this kid, 3 for 4. Kid's doing unbelievable. And then Betts, a couple doubles. I just love this young team. And, I know I say it all the time that March 2016 can't get here fast enough, but it truly can't. It truly can't. And then, so they won that one, and then they won the next one. Porcello got a win, even though maybe he didn't deserve it. 8 Ks over 8 innings pitched, which was nice, but he did allow 4 earned runs. Blake Swihart with 2 bombs in that, another kid I love. It's just, oh, man, I don't think I can say enough about this young team.
Was that Tuesday game was that weird game where they scored 10 runs in the first inning combined.
Right.
Weird.
And then it kind of settled down.
Credit to Porcello, he settled down. He didn't allow anything after the first.
That's true.
So
that is good to see.
And for Porcello too, credit to him. You come out in the first inning, you have a 6-run spot before you ever take the mound, and he comes out and allows 4 runs. You say, well, that's dumb. Well, what's he doing? He's throwing strikes. You have a 6-run lead. You get hit around a little bit. Stuff happens. Then you bear down. It wasn't walking people. He walked 1 guy all night in that game.
Yeah.
So you bear down after you start getting hit and say, okay, now it's a game. I regret that we made it a game. But at least you're not out here nitpicking the corners. At least you're challenging people. Now you've challenged them. They're hitting you. Make good pitches. And he did it for the next 7 innings.
Yeah.
So
that was actually a good start. I kind of discounted him on the numbers, but he did settle down. I love that. And that's such a great thing to show these young guys on how to do that, and this growing process cannot be, undervalued. You know,
Yeah.
it's going to be great for them next year, and really, hopefully, they're going to hit the ground running. So, some things I'm a little bit alarmed about, and you know how I've been loving the defense of this outfield, and that outfield defense is something that we've always underestimated as a Red Sox nation, but no longer. We see the success of like a Royals team. We see the success of a Pittsburgh Pirates team. You see the success of all these teams, and they have good outfield defense. So while I like the outfield defense, it's turned around now where, you know, Rusney Castillo can't hit a breaking ball. You know, he basically hasn't hit one for the past month. And, you know, teams are starting to get that book on him and just throwing it. So I would like a little insurance in that outfield. So I don't know who that is going to be and what person. Maybe it's an Alejandro Diaz.
Well, I was going to say, you had it with Alejandro Diaz.
We did.
And then trade him at the trade deadline or near the trade deadline or whatever to a team that was in it at that point that didn't make it in San Francisco. But I think that probably exposed Rusney a little bit. Yeah. And what are you playing for? You're playing for nothing the rest of the year, so that's fine. Expose him, see what he's got, see what JBJ has, which we are in complete disagreement about, but see what these guys have without the safety net. Now, next year, if you take this seriously, go get another safety net.
Right.
And if Rusney kills it, let him kill it, and come July 31 next year, it was contract situation, but it just made me think, because we've seen him recently, Justin Ruggiano.
Yeah.
A guy like that who maybe had an underrated year this year or got really safe.
You know, then he's probably a guy that shouldn't get 600 plate appearances. Maybe he's a guy that gets 450, and we got to find someone else, you know, to get in there and do that. But obviously we're going to see Mookie in 162 next year, and then it would be nice to have that fourth outfield to kind of supplant a little bit of Bradley, a little bit and who knows, maybe it's a little Travis Shaw.
I was going to say, do you put Travis Shaw in right field or hide him in left a little bit? You probably couldn't play him there every day. But.
Yeah, certainly not every day. I mean, we kind of see that experiment. But, yeah, I mean, to have Brady and Bradley in the wings as a little slip up, Bradley in the wings as, you know, kind of a defensive replacement towards the end, I'll take 3 at-bats out of Travis Shaw, sure. Have him rake in a few runs and then grab some pine. But
could you have Shaw, Hanley Ramirez, and David Ortiz do a little, not a platoon you'd call it, but one of two for Shaw and Ramirez plays left, the other one plays first, Ortiz DHs, maybe occasionally you still put Ortiz at first, then the other one goes to left field, and you have those 3 covering those 3 positions. Ortiz is going to predominantly DH, but you're going to put him at first occasionally.
Only when you're in an NL park, he will not play.
But what happens if you're getting Travis Shaw every single day at bats? Does David Ortiz become your safety net for Shaw? Because if Shaw turns out that he can't hack 650 plate appearances himself,
that's going to be Hanley.
You know,
it's going to be Hanley.
Do you trust Hanley every day at first base and left field?
No, he's not going to play any left field.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I give Shaw maybe 10 or 15 games out there.
So
maybe 20.
You're asking Hanley with the money they're paying him to just play first base, a position he's never played before.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I feel a lot better than him playing left field, because that was a circus.
It was.
Ran Baylor out of town.
I feel a lot worse about him playing first base. I feel a lot worse about him handling the ball even more in a position he's not accustomed to. I realize he was a shortstop, and I realize at times he was a pretty good shortstop when he was younger and more athletic and hadn't been injured as much and wasn't old. Yeah. He's now maybe not, you know, he's limited in where he can play. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous.
Well, we're going to have to find a spot for him, because no one's going to take his contract.
Yep.
We just talked about how we don't like eating him. So I think if he gets off to a good start, you know, his bat can mask his defensive flaws. It's just after he ran into the wall in early May, he couldn't hit after that.
Here's the thing. You say that about a left fielder, absolutely. That's of the 9 positions, that's the one you can hide somebody the most. Of the infield positions, you can hide somebody at first base the easiest, arguably second base for a middle infielder, because shortstop, you're going to get found out fast.
Obviously.
Having covered and followed a team every day this year that had a terrible defensive first baseman with the bat to mask it, the bat doesn't mask it. I'm just going to tell you that right now. The bat doesn't mask it. And then you run into this problem where, because the bat doesn't mask the defense, I'm talking about Willeen Rosario in Colorado.
And he didn't hit this year.
Well, here's why. because the bat doesn't mask the defense, because the defense is so atrocious at so many times, you can't play him as much. And when you can't play him as much and he doesn't get consistent at bats, suddenly he doesn't hit the way he should hit. And all of a sudden you're looking at him, and Rosario went to AAA. Ramirez, that's not going to happen. But you're like looking at him and say, wait a second, we had this huge power hitter. We could have hit him at first base. He would have hit 30 home runs. What the hell happened?
Yeah.
You know, that's the worst case scenario. I think it's entirely plausible for Hanley Ramirez.
Well, that's you kind of get back into that bad habit that we spoke a little bit about last week of like trying to get that fantasy stud at every position.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is just making the best of a bad situation because we're already in it.
I'm with that, but I'm not trying to get a fantasy stud. I'm trying to get a serviceable dude. Travis Shaw is more than serviceable.
Yeah.
You know,
defensively.
Hanley Ramirez,
and
offensively, enough.
Yeah.
Hanley Ramirez,
yeah.
I don't know. I hope that the defense doesn't overcome the poor defense. You know, theoretically, we're assuming it's poor. Maybe it's going to be brilliant. I don't think so. I hope
he's never going to touch brilliance defensively. I mean, he's got to this point in his life.
Well,
not worrying about his defense.
The only reason I say that is he played shortstop for so long,
right?
And you can't
wasn't a very good shortstop.
No, he wasn't. But as athletic as you are, and have as many chances as he did at shortstop for good teams. I mean, he played for the Dodgers very recently when they were pretty good. Yeah. You can't fake that, you know? Yeah. And I'm not saying he's one of the best shortstops in the league, but to play shortstop at this level for that long, there's something redeemable within him.
Yeah.
You know, there's something there you would imagine.
I'm hoping it's fantastic lateral quickness at first base. That's what I'm hoping it is.
Oh, man.
You know? Oh, boy. Already too much time spent on hand ramp. What are you going to do? I mean, Oh, boy.
I'm interested, and they couldn't do this because of Pablo, but I'm interested that they didn't try him at third base first. And they would have never done that with Pablo, but with his injury history recently, age, all that sort of stuff, maybe a less demanding position on the same side of the infield might have been worth a shot.
Yeah.
Or is that the path for somebody else? Does somebody else say, we'll take a flyer on Hanley at third if you pay X amount of the contract? And again, maybe we don't need that much money, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm down with that. I mean, we talked last week about that Mega Padres deal I want to make, but you know, and we'll eat some of it in order for them to take it. But yeah, that seems like the natural transition for a shortstop who's kind of lost a step is moving over there to third. You know,
hey, send him to Baltimore. Baltimore wants Manny Machado to play shortstop, maybe. Send him to Baltimore. Baltimore's going to lose Chris Davis, I assume, in free agency.
Make J.J. Hardy a first baseman?
Yeah, so maybe they're saying, hey, we need to come up with a bat, and Ramirez won't replace Chris Davis, but he kind of might if he plays every day, so maybe put him at third and Machado at short. I would love to see Machado at shortstop, first off.
Yeah.
As good as he is. I don't know.
That would just add to the bevy of awesome shortstops in the American League. I mean, you look at it now. I mean, you got Correa, you got Xander, Correa, Lindor, and now if Machado moves over there, I mean, as it is now, it's like that big three that we had in like the mid '90s of Nomar, obviously first, and then A-Rod and Jeter, and you know, it's kind of like that triumvirate once again. But I mean, if Machado moves over there too, it's a 4-spot, so that'll be interesting. I mean, I do love that kid. He rakes, no doubt about it.
And his defense, man, I'm telling you.
Yeah, his defense is sick.
It's ridiculous.
As a third baseman. So I wonder as a shortstop if it's going to hold up.
I think it would. They've played him there a little bit, and I know they've talked about it. I was watching an Orioles game over the weekend, the one of the ones with the Yankees when the Yankees were trying to clinch home field, and they were talking about moving him to shortstop or have him play more at shortstop. The other thing about this with a lot of third basemen, especially one as good as Manny Machado, teams shift so much that he's de facto playing quite a bit of short when he's the only damn guy on the left side of the infield. When you're 40 feet off the line, you're not a third baseman anymore. Yeah. You're not playing that position anymore. So
that's true. Did you see today in the shift, Poppy was on second and and he tried to steal third?
Yeah.
It was so awesome. I love that guy.
Why not?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, he has got a 0 in the stolen base column. He wanted to make it a 1.
Why not?
Jerry was all over him. Oh, yeah. It was so great.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. And he had his 37th double today.
And 37 homers this season, too.
Boom. 37 homers as well. His most for the Sox since he hit a club record 54 in 06. So I'm glad we didn't trade him in June when you were running him out of town. That was good.
Damn. Oh, you should have because you're selling high on a guy who's 51 and won't die.
Yeah.
That's
you were ready to sell him low.
Almost a 40-40 season for David Ortiz, born December 1st, 1911.
Wow.
That's impressive.
That's impressive. I wasn't aware.
What is he?
of that
42?
DOB.
How old is he? 43.
No,
He's
I think he's about 40.
he's
Who
older than
knows?
40. All right, look it up right now.
Yeah, you look it up.
I'm gonna look it up right now. I swear to God, he's 42.
Anyways, but I'm glad we didn't trade him. Now that he did get his 600 plate appearances, so with his contract, that will make his contract next year for $16 million for a 1-year deal.
I'll be damned. November 18, 1975. The dude is only, effectively 40.
39.
He'll be 40 next season.
Boom, and the guy still mashes.
He's got 3 more years. Give him 3 years.
How many guys went 30 bombs, 100 RBIs this year? in the league?
Nolan,
Like 8.
not Bryce Harper. Carlos Gonzalez.
Hopper didn't get the RBIs?
No, he got like 97. That was the thing.
Ooh.
That the Nationals offense was so dead, and RBIs don't tell the whole story.
Yeah.
But the Nationals offense was so awful without him, he was just driving himself in. So it's Arenado, I believe Carlos Gonzalez in the National League, I believe Paul Goldschmidt in Arizona, Josh Donaldson for sure, Jose Bautista. I don't know if he got 100 RBIs.
He definitely got the homers.
Chris Davis, did he get 100 RBIs? Because he definitely got the homers.
Okay.
There's probably, we're not going to go through the
8
whole
to
thing.
10?
Yeah, probably. Maybe a dozen tops.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like this guy's going to be 40 next year. If he still hits 25 and 90, isn't that worth $16 million? It is.
Nelson
For 1
Cruz
year,
is another
$16
one.
million.
But listen to the names that we're talking about. Goldschmidt, Arenado, Cruz, Chris Davis. They all do different stuff. But like those are, very generally speaking, 24 to 30-year-olds in their prime who mash, who are very good players. And a lot of them are or will very soon make $20 million. So.
No question.
Yeah.
But what we're going to do, much like at the end of Tim Wakefield's career, where we just re-up the guy to a $5 million deal, every offseason. Hey, you want to pitch another thing? Okay, here we go. 1 year, $5 million. 1 year, $5 million. Now we're going to do that with Poppy. It's going to be like 1 year, $15 million. 1 year, $15 million. We're going to bring him back. He's going to play till he's 42. The guy is, that'd be 3 more years. Can you imagine that? I like it.
Well, there's something to be said about familiarity. Dude's treated like a king in Boston. He'd be treated like a king anywhere. Dude's a legend. But Boston's really good to him. Why would you leave?
Yeah, and the guy's clutch, as we've seen in the past. And obviously he's a guy that, has that sustainability the first 2 months of the season notwithstanding. But you can see as he warms up, he's kind of that catalyst for that offense, and how everybody kind of came along. It's just unfortunate. It happened, maybe about a month too late. We could have overcome from 5 or 6 weeks of ugliness rather than 10.
As it turns out, with the American League wild card finishing up the way that it did, if you had started 3 or 4 weeks before you really started, the Red Sox could have maybe been in the conversation.
Yeah.
Or like the Twins were, like kind of on that outskirts, like, hey, you got a shot. You got a shot until almost the last day.
Right.
Right.
And they just never quite got to that 500 level.
Are they last now? I didn't see the AL standings after today's games. They're in last place in the American League East.
They are last place.
What does that say about your division and your season that you're 6 games under and you're in last place? It's better than being 25 under and being last place.
No question. It's a very competitive division, and obviously the power is shifting a little bit. It's not, the Yanks and Sox all the time now. You have the Toronto looks like they definitely have a formidable hitting lineup, and if they can retain Price somehow, it looks like they're going to be good for the next 3 to 5 years anyway with that squad they have together. And, Tampa's just always in that mix because they just scout pitching well, and they always have a depth of young pitching. And, Kevin Cash as a first-year manager did well down there.
Yeah.
So I think the AL East is coming around. I think they're going to be a tough division. The Orioles, I think there's all this talk about moving on from Showalter, but I think that guy's done good there, but he must have like Jim Harbaugh syndrome where he kind of wears out his welcome after 3 or 4 years. But the guy seems to me to get a lot out of, because I look at his roster and especially like their starting staff, and for them to have had the success they've had over the past 3 years, I wouldn't get rid of that guy. They're a tough team to play. They play hard. But yeah. So how do we get on that tangent?
We're talking about AL East, the standings and stuff. I think the Orioles are going to lose a couple free agents, though, and they might be worse for the wear next year.
I think they should let Davis go ahead.
I think they should let Davis go, but they're also going to lose Wong Yong, the pitcher. the Korean pitcher. Started the season real poorly, and I was like, who is this guy? Forget it. Had a really nice season, and they're going to lose him in free agency.
Yeah,
Wei-Min Chang. Is that it? Yeah.
I always think it's like Bruce Chen. I'm like, oh, sweet.
That's right. It's Chen. That's where I confused me. That you're right. Okay, because he had a real nice year, and they're going to lose him, I think, in free agency.
I was glad to see this week that the Red Sox finally put together a 5-game win streak. That was impressive. Or did it get to 6 with the third win? And,
is that the longest winning streak of the year?
Season, yeah. They hadn't had one longer than 4, and then they busted out this week. So.
That's the Rockies. 4 was the longest. What was the longest losing streak? Do you know off the top of your head?
I don't.
It couldn't have been that bad.
No, it was probably like an 8 or a 9er.
That's pretty bad.
Well, maybe a 7er. But they also had like lost 12 out of 14 in one stretch, which was like kind of tough stretch.
Everybody does that though. You do that once, you can stomach it. You do that more than once, or it gets past like that 12 of 14 stretch, you're in deep shit.
The game in that Yankees series that was just fantastic was that extra inning one, which was fantastic because that was the one where you thought, okay, finally Conley's going to owe me a lunch. And then it just didn't happen. They came back and then went in the top of the 11 with 4 runs. It was friggin' sick, And 2 bombs for Mookie in that one, who I just love this kid. He was 0 for Cleveland, 0 for 10 in Cleveland, unfortunately.
Woo!
But he still hit a very highly respectable 292 for the year. This kid's going to be a 300 hitter.
What is the Cleveland show? So there's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and then Hot in Cleveland. That show's called Hot in Cleveland with Betty White. So he was cold in Cleveland?
Wow. Yep. Wow. I'm sorry I brought that up. Sorry, people, that elicited such a poor pun out of Bobby D.
I thought that was pretty damn good.
Well, let's move along. So, they finished in last place despite, decent 78 and 84 record. But last place, that's the third time in 4 years now they're in last place. Back-to-back last place finishes for the first time for the Red Sox since 1930.
So they went last place, World Series, last place.
Yes.
Kind of weird. Now the last places the context
as long as we keep that every time, every 4 years.
The context of the last places is different too. And correct me if I'm wrong, 2012 and 2014 were miserable. Weren't they much worse last year?
Yeah, yes. Yes, they were.
They weren't 6 under.
2012 is a misery unto its own.
Yeah.
That was the Bobby Valentine year.
And then 2013 was great.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then 14's you're going to have some type of letdown. But that 2013, just caught lightning in a bottle, and it wasn't like young guys or what. It was just it was almost like another band of idiots that was assembled together, and the Napolis and the Shane Victories of the world that really brought it together. And obviously the tragedy that happened in 2013, kind of rallied the city around that. But yeah, so that was incredible. But this, I don't want to say it reminded me of 2012, but in 2012, they, in the beginning of the year and in the middle, they were playing some great baseball. And then towards the end in that plummet, they were playing some of the most horrible baseball I've ever seen. And so this edition, the 2015 version of the Red Sox, was kind of similar in that fact, in the fact that they were unbearable to watch there in June.
Yeah.
In May and June. And then it's like to see this young nucleus becoming unto itself here in the past, 2 months. Fantastic. Oh, boy. Yeah. So they took 3 out of 4 in the Bronx. That was nice. And then dropped all these games in Cleveland. But we won't dwell on those.
Nope. I do want to say one thing and only... Well, actually, 2 things about the Cleveland series and only 2 things.
Okay.
Excuse me. Let's do 3.
Let's do 3.
I want to talk about the starting pitcher in every game. Rich Hill, real good. Rich Hill was the last Yankees game. Real good start again. Lose to CC Sabathia. It happens.
Yep.
Ends on a positive note, though. I think he threw real well.
One thing about Rich Hill, while we're on Rich Hill.
Do it.
What I think is awesome, because last time it was the Red Sox, he was kind of a little bit of a sidewinder, and now he's coming a little more over the top, almost like 3/4 release. And so is that kind of a situation where, and he sometimes goes back to the sidewinder, so it's almost like his arsenal has doubled now.
Yeah.
And that seems to be effective for him.
And I think that's a guy who, he caught lightning in a bottle in the starting rotation at the end of this year in 4 starts?
Right.
that's not going to continue. Let's just be honest, it won't. You should bring him into camp next year. You should give him a shot to earn a rotation job.
Right.
He's not gonna, or he won't for the whole year, and if he does, I'll be shocked.
Right.
But if that's his arsenal, with the success he's had this year in the reinvention, maybe he's one of those swing guys next year. Start a few games here and there, somebody gets injured, somebody skips a start, get in the bullpen. Occasionally you're going to face the one lefty, occasionally you're going to throw long relief. You need a swingman. He's not like the number one key to winning a World Series, but look at these good teams. Look what they have aside from the good lineup and the good rotation. They've got these role players. The bullpen swingman is example number one. Mm-hmm. You need somebody to wear it the day that you are losing 9-0 so that you save everybody for the next 4 games.
Right.
And maybe that's a role for him next year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think like gone are the days where you're going to have 5 horses that pitch 200 innings, And, we've talked a little bit about, are these guys, if Brian Johnson comes back from injury and he's in the mix for starter position next year, and it's like, are these guys the Henry Owenses, the Eduardo Rodriguez's, and Brian Johnson, are these guys going to be on a pitch count? And if so, even like a Joe Kelly, he's a guy that's, he's 27 and stuff, but he's never thrown 200 innings in the majors. So he's on a 170 pitch count next year. Who knows, But you have all these guys that are, and I would hate to see it be a case where, they're mowing along real good and there's a Javi situation where Javi has to stand up and say, listen, screw your pitch count and I'm going to pitch. But, so if we started that season with a 6-man rotation, I kind of like that idea, and just like get it out there, see who's going, and then move ahead. Once you get into the leaner part of the schedule where you're playing 5 or 6 days a week instead of 7, then maybe you can scale it back to 5 with the guys that are doing good and skip a start or what have you. But it'd be nice for them to gradually monitor those guys' innings throughout the year as opposed to it being an absolute shutdown at the end. I hate that.
Or and this is a little out there and it'd be tough to schedule it. You'd have to go on feel. But take a 5-man, leave Hill out of it, or somebody, leave Kelly out of it, right, whoever it is, and put them in the bullpen as the long man, this swing guy. Mm-hmm. And then every couple weeks, give them a start, keep them extended, give everybody one bump day, right, and say, hey, we think that everybody's dragging a little bit, or so-and-so needs an extra day. We're going to start Joe Kelly on Tuesday, and everybody gets pushed back a day. Mm-hmm. Then Joe Kelly goes back to the bullpen for 2 weeks. Then he goes and starts again. Right. You're essentially bringing somebody up from the minors without making the roster move.
Yeah.
And if you can't swing the 6-man rotation because you want the extra bullpen guy, do that. And then occasionally you have that bullpen guy who can start games.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm just like, how often do you really use that swing guy? Like, you really use him in a blowout when you need a long relief guy. So it's like, I'm not sure that can really work out where that guy stays lengthened out enough where he can give you a start every 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true.
So, but whereas if he's part of the mix on like a 6-man, he is staying lengthened out as it goes. They're just kind of, and these young kids, they shouldn't really be in a routine yet. It's like, hey, you guys don't have your routine yet. You become a 200-inning pitching horse, then you have your routine.
Yeah.
Then we're allowed to accommodate your routine. But I see a lot of guys, with great second halves here that have shown me a lot, in the pitching staff coming back here in the next season. And Jabrowski's going to bring in some more arms. There's no doubt about that. So, but a very melancholy, sad farewell today to Don Orsillo, who is the man who voiced the Red Sox for the past 15 years.
See you in San Diego, brother.
See you in San Diego, and I love that. So I just wanted to, I'd be remiss if I didn't give a Bill of the Cap High salute to Don Orsillo and wish you the best, and I hope you have a Enbergian run down in San Diego because they just got a great play-by-play guy.
I think about broadcasters way more than I should. Take a minute on this, and then I think we got to start wrapping. Yeah. But
you think they weigh more than you should?
Oh, I think about broadcasters way more than anybody else I know.
Gotcha. I thought you were calling Don Orsillo fat.
No. Oh. San Diego with Dick Enberg, who is incomparable only, except for Vin Scully. Him and Scully are legends. You got Dick Enberg, and he's going to do, I think, home games, going to kind of do what Scully does and transition out, and next year's Enberg's last year, and he's not going to do 162. But you've got him, you got Mark Grant is their primary play-by-play guy, and Mark Sweeney is their secondary play-by-play guy, both obviously former players. Grant and Sweeney are kind of funny working class. I don't know how you want to describe it. They're not like Hawk Harrelson, but they're a little rough around the edges, a little goofy, a little player-like, and they give great insight on the player thing, but they're not smooth.
Sounds a little Remy-esque.
Exactly. They're exactly like Remy, and they work very well with Enberg because Enberg is the consummate smooth pro. Mm-hmm. And so if Mark Grant, and I don't know if you've ever heard a Padres broadcast, you should listen to one next year if you haven't, because Grant and Enberg are phenomenal. But if Mark Grant were with a less strong play-by-play guy, Grant is going to stand out as a doofus. And you say, I hate this guy, he doesn't fit, he's joking around. But when you have a serious pro like Enberg, they complement each other perfectly. Orsillo is that smooth, serious, uber-polished pro. And Orsillo alone, you're like, this dude's vanilla, he's too dry. Grant and Sweeney alone, you're like, these dudes are goofy, they're weird. The mix of the two of them, I think Orsillo steps right into Enberg's shoes, and the Padres still have one of the best broadcasts in baseball.
It's all about the right mix.
Does it matter wins and losses? No, obviously not. But if you're going to watch 162 games, you got to enjoy who you're listening to.
Absolutely. And I have enjoyed listening to Donnie O for the past 15, no doubt.
And we hear a lot of bad baseball broadcasts. A ton of bad baseball. There's a ton of bad teams, a ton of good teams. The Mets do a great job. The A's do a great job. The Padres do a great job. The Padres will get. I don't think you can beat Enberg, but they'll be right there with Don Orsillo. That's a good hire.
Absolutely. It's a great hire. We wish you the best, Donnie. So next week, guys, we're going to sign off with a little, wrap up the Red Sox season with a little tie-up show. And obviously, because we are rudderless discussions, we will probably go into, some other things too. But for Bobby DeMuro, I'm Mike Conley. Thanks for hanging out with us on Red Sox Wrap 360.
And hey, before we leave, really, really quick.
Dodgers Wrap.
The Dodgers are in the playoffs. We're doing Dodgers Wrap right after this. So if you're watching this live, watch the Dodgers. If you want to talk more baseball with us, watch the Dodgers Wrap throughout the playoffs. Even if you don't know the Dodgers, if you don't know the National League, you're going to be watching the postseason games. So watch the Dodgers, pay a little more attention, watch with us, hang with us on the Dodgers show next week.
Do it.
Yeah.
Keep your eyes out for Pat's Wrap 360.
And we'll be back, what is it, next Sunday, usual time, 5 p.m. Pacific, for the season wrap for these Red Sox.
There you go.
Perfect.
Well put.
All right, brother.
Later, Sox.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.